In the heart of New York City, atop a glass skyscraper, lived Richard Lawson, a billionaire known for his cold demeanor and iron grip over his business empire. To the world, he was a symbol of power and success, but within the walls of his penthouse, he was feared more than respected. His staff walked on eggshells, terrified of making even the slightest mistake. Richard's pain was hidden behind his arrogance. Years ago, he lost his wife in a tragic accident, and since then, his heart had turned into stone. He threw himself into work, convincing himself that feelings were a weakness. One chilly evening, Richard came home earlier than usual. He was exhausted and frustrated after losing a major deal. As he entered the kitchen, he froze. His maid, Maria, stood with the refrigerator door open. Her hands trembled as she quickly closed it, her eyes wide like a child caught stealing. "What are you doing?" Richard's voice was sharp, cutting through the silence. I was just checking the fridge," Maria stuttered. Richard's anger boiled. "Checking the fridge? That's not your place. Do you think you can just take whatever you want from my house?" Maria's eyes filled with tears, but she said nothing. Richard's temper flared even more. "You're fired. Pack your things and get out." Maria tried to speak, but her voice cracked. "Sir, please." But Richard turned away, his heart hardened. He had no room for excuses. Hours later, as he poured himself a drink, Richard's butler, Mr. James, who had served him faithfully for 25 years, approached carefully. "Sir, if I may, there's something you don't know about Maria." Richard scoffed. "What could possibly justify sneaking into my fridge?" The butler sighed, his voice heavy with compassion. "She wasn't stealing for herself. She has a 6-year-old son, Leo. He's sick, very sick. She hasn't been able to buy enough groceries because most of her wages go to his medical bills. She wasn't looking for food for herself, she was hoping there might be leftovers she could take home for her boy." Richard's glass slipped from his hand, shattering on the floor. His chest tightened, a flood of guilt washing over him. He had judged her without knowing, lashed out without compassion. Suddenly, memories of his late wife came rushing back, how she always reminded him to see people's struggles, not just their mistakes. The next morning, Richard drove himself, something he hadn't done in years, to the small apartment where Maria lived. When she opened the door, her eyes were swollen from crying. Her son Leo lay on a thin mattress in the living room, coughing weakly. Richard's throat tightened as he took in the scene. "Maria, I was wrong," he whispered. "I didn't understand." Maria shook her head, tears streaming. "I wasn't trying to steal, sir. I didn't know what else to do. My son hasn't eaten properly in 2 days." For the first time in years, Richard felt his walls crumble. He knelt beside Leo, gently brushing the boy's hair back. "I'm sorry," he said, his voice breaking. "I didn't see you, but I do now." Overwhelmed with guilt and compassion, Richard didn't just rehire Maria, he transformed her life. He arranged for the best doctors to treat Leo, paid for his medical care in full, and moved Maria and her son into a safer home. Weeks later, as Leo recovered and laughter returned to Maria's face, Richard found something unexpected happening within himself. The emptiness he had carried since his wife's death began to heal, replaced by a sense of purpose. He realized that kindness, not wealth, was what truly defined a man. One evening, as Richard stood on his balcony, watching the sunset, Maria approached him. Her voice trembled with gratitude. "You saved my son, sir. I will never forget this." Richard smiled faintly, his eyes misty. "No, Maria, it's you who saved me. You reminded me of the man my wife always believed I could be." And for the first time in many years, Richard Lawson, the billionaire everyone thought was heartless, let his tears fall freely.